What's up, Home Slices? It's Kiara with Home Slice Adulting, coming to you with another installment of my driving home series. This week there's nothing in particular on the docket, I guess. But let's just get into it. For those of you who don't know, the Driving Home series is a series where I just kind of vlog and talk to you all, about whatever I've been dealing with that week, or things that are happening in social media or in the news that catch my interest or whatever. And so the only thing that kind of caught my interest this particular time was about the When They See Us film that came out on Netflix. And when I tell you all that I am so tired of seeing movies, documentaries, films, television, whatever, seeing all of this media surrounded by the mistreatment of my people, I'm just like very over it. Every once in a while something will come out that makes me kind of get over that. But at this juncture, like, I kind of go in and out of phases. There's like days where I'm like, okay, let's talk about race. Let's talk about the injustices. Let's, do that. And then there are other days where it's like, don't tell me about no slaves. Don't tell me about no Jim Crow. Don't tell me about no nothing, no redlining. I don't want to hear nothing about race. And it's like, it's tough enough being a black person, a black woman, and having racial things, microaggressions, and just your own knowledge of what your people have been through in your mind. It's another thing to put yourself in a position to observe that happening and observe that happening, remembering it happening, knowing that it has happened to multiple black people across generations, across, the world. And, it's enough to just have that knowledge without having to watch it and see it and purposely intake all of this, negativity, things that make you mad, on purpose. And it's like, I don't want to put myself in that position. I know I'm going to be upset watching this, whether it's getting upset at the people who, took advantage of how young and naive these boys were, or whether it was, getting upset that, their parents were not in a better position to protect them from, being taken advantage of by the legal system, and all those types of things. So for me, it's like I'm kind of to the point where I have to be in a certain mood to have to watch that stuff. And then, for a lot of people, they watched it play out in real life, and then getting to see it behind the scenes, it's too much. So at this juncture, I'm not going to watch When They See Us. I'm just kind of at a different place in my life where I've moved to a new town, a town that has a very small population of black people. I moved to the Seattle, Washington area, and the population of black people is very small. It's around, I think, like 5 to 7% of the city, which for me is kind of a big deal because I grew up in the South where black people were everywhere. And it's interesting how when I lived in a place where black people were everywhere, we rarely talked about race. And now that I live in Seattle, I am almost always engaging in a conversation about race. And I think I am just a little bit over it. I won't call it social justice fatigue or anything like that. It's just I am being cautious about how much of that I take in, or how much I give my energy to things that I know are just going to upset me. So I won't be watching When They See Us currently. But maybe sometime in the future when I'm in a different headspace. So moving on, I got the best compliment that I got this week. So on Monday, for those of you who didn't see my other video, on Monday I did a quick vlog series, random vlog series similar to what I'm doing right now, about performing at a school talent show. And that at that school talent show, I work at a private school for grades 6 through 12, and they had an arts festival type of thing, and on the first day of the festival there was a talent showcase where students and faculty could perform for the school. And because the venue was smaller, they had to split the school up into like the first half of people come to watch the talent show and then they switch out. Then the second half of people come to watch the show, right? So I had to perform twice. I signed up to perform and I sang Killing Me Softly by Roberta Flack or Lauryn Hill or the Fugees, whichever version you prefer. And me as a person who's very shy about singing in public, and quite insecure about singing in public, I got a lot of compliments, and I've been getting compliments all week, and it has really been boosting my confidence. But the best compliment that really struck my heart or whatever was one of the students. I don't know what grade he's in. I don't even know if I would recognize him if I saw him again, because I don't really interact with the students as often, because I am not a teacher. But he said, I went and downloaded the song that you sang. You did such a great job. And I was like, oh, I don't know why that particular comment or compliment meant so much more to me than many of the other compliments. A lot of them were just in passing, and they were like, oh, you did a great job and things like that. And all I can say is thank you. I'm very bad at taking compliments personally, but knowing that a young person who probably had never heard that song before, who was not aware of that song, whether, it was Roberta Flack or Lauryn Hill, because think about it, 6th through 12th graders were not alive in the 90s. So for them, even the newer version of that song, which came out when I was younger, they don't know. And to hear that he went and downloaded the song that I sang because the way I sang it was great, that just touched me on a deeper level. So that was the best compliment that I got. Some other meaningful compliments that I got were that older people who, well, I expected for people closer to my age that I work with, other faculty members, to remember the 90s version. But the most compliments I got were about Roberta Flack's version. And that a lot of the older people were saying, you did such a great job. And I remember when that song came out, and they were talking about how that song made them remember things from before. And one person gave me a hug, and he was like, I remember I had to commute to work when I first started teaching back in the 70s or early 70s, I think he said. And I used to always listen to Roberta Flack on the radio, and she was great, and she had this way of calming everybody down and having this great energy. And he was like, you did something very similar, and you did it just as great. And that was a really great compliment. And he's a music teacher, so for him giving me that compliment, that was great. Something I forgot to mention is that during my second performance, which was for me a little bit rockier than the first one, because I felt myself getting sick, and as you can hear now, I'm actually sick. I learned years ago from my great grandmother to tell, when you start to get sick, when your uvula, which is the thing that hangs down at the back of your throat, your uvula touches the back of your tongue. And once that happens, that's how you know you're getting a cold. And it has never failed me. That it always happens. But anyways, one of the things that happened during the second performance, it was a little rockier for me. My confidence went down just a little bit. I had gotten compliments from the first performance, but I felt myself I was getting sick. So I was concerned that my voice was going to give out, and it did not, thank goodness. But, when you lose that little bit of confidence, your ability to perform goes down. But anyways, I was singing during the second performance, and somebody in the crowd to my left was singing along with me. And I heard them, and I was like, this is my time to shine. So I didn't know who it was. But almost immediately after the second talent show was over, when everybody was ready to go back to, school and all that stuff, the person who was singing came up to me. I didn't know this at that point, but he was an older guy, and he had actually performed earlier in the program. I think he was like the second or third performer, and he was like, "Oh, I love this song, and you did such a great job." And to me, like, hearing a compliment from a musician, like, he sings all the time, he plays at least 2 different instruments, he's a very musical person. So when I hear compliments from musical people, it just means that much more to me. So I really appreciated his compliment. But I found out later that he was the one that was singing along with me while I was on stage. And it's funny because he kind of got like mixed reviews. So my boss, talked to me about it, and she was like, "Oh, you did a great job." She was like, "Did you hear somebody singing along with you?" And she said, according to her, who also has a little bit of a musical background, which I found out recently, that there was somebody harmonizing with you. And I was trying to ignore them while I was up on stage, and I was trying to like hit notes that they couldn't follow because I could hear them on the stage, and apparently everyone else in the room could hear them as well. So it wasn't like this person was singing along, maybe humming to themselves, to where maybe only a few people could hear them. They were singing fairly loud, to where people could hear our voices blending together. So my boss was like, "Oh, did that bother you?" And I was like, it didn't necessarily bother me or anything. Like, I would have preferred that it didn't happen, but I was not thrown off by it, thank goodness. But anyways, so I found out later from somebody else who it was, and it was the guy who gave me that compliment. And and they were like, "I could have punched him in the back of the head for singing along with you." And she was like, "He already had his turn," which is true. He already had his turn to sing. It was hilarious. So, anyways, somebody, a lot of other people said the same thing. And the guy who told me like the story about listening to Roberta Flack on his way home on his way, driving to work back in the 70s, he said, after he gave me a hug, and he was like, "Somebody was singing along with you and they were so out of tune." And I was like, that is hilarious to hear one person say they were singing harmony and it sounded good, and then to hear somebody else say that they were singing out of tune. And then he told me that the choir teacher was just so mad that there was somebody singing along with me in the crowd. That was freaking hilarious. I thought that was very funny, and shady, super shady. I thought it was hilarious. But anyways, that's kind of what my week has been like, and I feel like I've learned a lesson about the role of confidence. And people say all the time that, just having more confidence can make all the difference in life when you are trying to get the things that you want, going for a promotion, doing anything in your life. Having confidence means everything in the world. And I don't know, I won't say that I didn't believe that. Like, I know how we hear people saying things, and it's not that we don't believe them, it's just maybe we haven't seen it for ourselves. And I think that's what this week has shown me, and that me being insecure and not having enough confidence to sing in public more often, and then actually finally getting the confidence to do it, finally getting the nerve to do it in front of so many people, in front of whether they are, my peers as coworkers, or whether they are in front of, 500 6th through 12th graders, really made the difference. And it made me feel like, I actually can sing, and maybe I don't have Mariah Carey pipes or can't hit Ariana Grande notes, but I do have talent, I do have ability, and having that confidence kind of made all of the difference. So if there's something that you want to do, something that you feel insecure about and maybe haven't shown the rest of the world, I feel like people are going to be honest with you about how they think you did. People are going to be honest with you and tell you, maybe you want to try stand-up comedy. The reaction that you get from the crowd is going to be their honest reaction. And you just having the confidence to do it and being vulnerable and putting yourself out there means that once you get that honest feedback, you can move on from there. But if you're paralyzed by fear and you're so afraid of even getting out there, you don't know if you can be great at it or not. And so, you know, I have no intentions. Well, not no intentions, but like 0.0005% intentions of becoming a singer and having a music career or anything like that. Like, if that were ever on the table, I'd probably take it, but what are the chances of that? But the point is that I'm doing something that I love to do. I sing all the freaking time. Make a song out of anything. There's always an applicable song about everything, okay? And I often get songs stuck in people's heads. Like, I'm a very musical person. I love music. I can't read music, can't play an instrument, but just knowing that I did something that brought people joy, that, you know, people enjoyed, that people liked so much that they told me they liked it. Because it's one thing for you to do something and people don't say anything about it, and you're like, okay, maybe they liked it. But for people you don't know to come up to you and say you did a great job, really means something. So I encourage you to get out there, do something that you haven't done before, that you have been wanting to do, and just go from there. And whether that becomes your career or whether that deters you, because I could have got up there and flopped and failed and had, you know, negative responses from people and you know, all that jazz. But I didn't let the fear of that stop me. And now I have more confidence to sing in the future. And I told you all, I have already been asked by someone at work to sing at a different event in the coming months, which is cool. So, yeah, put yourself out there. My theme for this year has been being open, being vulnerable, trying new things, and that's what I'm doing. And for the first time in like a long time, I feel like I'm like really doing something. Like, you know, I'm in grad school. I plan to start a small business this summer while, you know, I'm not taking any classes, and while, you know, my workload at work is going to be lighter because the students will not be at the school. So, you know, we recently bought land, and we have plans to go visit that land, and, you know, I'm doing much better managing my money. Like, things are coming together for me. So, I feel really good about my outlook on life. I sang in public. Like, things are going really well for me. So I encourage you to be vulnerable. I encourage you to take chances and just learn from whatever comes from those chances. Like, just put yourself out there and learn from whatever happens afterwards. So this is the longest ever driving home series, but I guess I just felt really passionate about talking about being, you know, confident or whatever. So thank you for watching. Do not forget to like, comment, subscribe, and to share this with somebody who may enjoy it. So thanks again. Y'all have a wonderful weekend, and peace out. Slices.